Okay, everybody on the call, thank you for joining us. To current shareholders, thank you for your support. And to new shareholders, we look forward to sharing our story. So Exro is a power electronics company. And for those of you that don't know what power electronics are, they're really the piece of any type of equipment that controls your flow of energy. So they're turning on and off the energy as needed to power some type of equipment. In an electric vehicle or in the mobility industry where we're focused, it means that it is the control system that essentially tells the motor how to send the power to the wheels. It's controlling that flow of energy from the battery and the motor to be able to send power to the wheels. So what we do as a company is we optimize or make electric motors and batteries smarter. And we do that through our next generation power electronics. And the reason we call them next generation is because currently, we have this booming mobility industry or electric vehicle industry, but really it's a state that's still in its infancy. It's really an industry that's, utilizing what's on the market today, putting product to market. We have a number of new electric vehicle manufacturers going to market. And so we're really working with people to be that next generation, to be in vehicles and to start getting into mobility applications of all types and sizes. And so as we look to Exro, we have two key pieces of technology. Our first is our product launch, which is our Coil driver, which is mainly focused on mobility applications. Our Coil driver is for those of you that can see the screen, it's the silver box up at the top there. And what it is it's a controller. So we don't make the motor, although we do offer a complete system with our motor partners. We make the drive or the control. And this drive is able to electrically gear. So what that means is it can control two different profiles, one for low-end torque and one for high-end speed. And the best way to think about that is, as a car is speeding down the highway, it wants to go fast, it's one profile. Now that same car has all of its family and a trunk load of stuff and some equipment on the front, and it's going to try to climb up a hill. It's going to be going lower speed, but flowing torque. So it's two separate profiles. This is enabled through what we call coil switching. And we'll get into what coil switching is, how we improve our cost performance and our position. And we'll talk a little bit about the different propulsion types, which we can do all the propulsion types: battery, fuel cell, plug-in. Our second piece of technology that we've just validated internally so far on the tech itself is our new battery control system for stationary energy storage. Same idea, where we're using controls, except now our advanced controls are used to create a new type of energy storage system. So we're optimizing lithium ion phosphate in our energy storage, and we're improving the power density, and we're repurposing batteries. So we're taking the batteries that come out of a truck or a car, and we're reusing them into a stationary storage, really completing that end-to-end solution within the ecosystem for Exro. As you think about those drives and energy segments, what you want to think about is that target market. And there's hundreds of new vehicles being brought to market globally. But when we think about each vehicle, the easiest way to think about it is every electric car, every electric vehicle, trucks, bikes, construction vehicles, lawnmowers, all have at least one inverter in them. Some have two, some have more, but they all have at least one. It is essentially the brain of the system. So it's like having a body without a brain. If you don't have that brain, the vehicle is not going to operate as an electric vehicle. That market globally is forecasted to be over 7.7 billion by 2025. And the CAGR is over 17%. As we look to the energy storage, the stationary energy storage part of the business, and reutilizing second life batteries, this is something that's already been done in Europe. It's already powering streetlights and hospitals. That industry is actually forecasted to be close to 30 billion by 2025. So a small share of that for Exro would be a huge business in the years to come. As we think to the Coil driver, what you want to think about again is that brain for the system and the ability to control the different torque curves. It's based on a physics of electric motors called coil switching. We didn't invent coil switching. What we did was use this physics of electric motors and applied it to the electronics. We combined software and new hardware design to create a new type of inverter or controller for an electric vehicle. We call this our Coil driver. Our Coil driver allows us to have a greater depth of control in the motor. This is through that torque switching. This is important because currently in the market, what manufacturers do is they compensate for what's available. So they're using a motor and a drive package that has been built maybe for an industrial application. A lot of times they're built for gas combustion or different types of vehicles. And so in a typical powertrain, what you'd see is a battery, a classic inverter, a motor, a gearbox, and wheels. Sometimes you see no gearbox, and as we get into bigger vehicles, they always need some type of gearing. With our Exro, you'd be eliminating or reducing the motor. In some cases, we've been able to optimize the motor down as much as 50%. You don't need a 2-speed or a 3-speed gearbox. We can normally eliminate that, and we can use either a fixed gear or no gearing. And you still get to do that traditional sense. So now you think about, you're going to put your foot to the accelerator, giving the message for the car to accelerate. It's going to feed through that inverter. It's going to do all those standard features that it's always done, except now you're going to be able to get a lot more power and a lot more speed. So we've introduced an ease of changeover for our OEMs and our customers while bringing them enhanced performance. Recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we announced an additional feature to our coil driver. This isn't a generational upgrade. This isn't us going back to R&D and trying to design something new. This is an additional feature that we've been working on in parallel to increase our value proposition to our customers, because the end result is that we want to be able to take market share. So we were really excited to be able to announce what we call our perfect powertrain, the ability to utilize an Exro drive to increase torque and speed, to increase efficiency, to drive down cost of the overall powertrain. And now we can also offer our customers the option of charging through the inverter. And what this means is, from a very primary level, an OEM can now reduce their cost because every vehicle also has what's called an onboard charger. It's the power electronics that allows the vehicle to connect in and charge. We can eliminate that completely, and it can be done through our inverter. This is a savings of from $300 to over $1,000 for the OEMs. In addition, from an infrastructure, from an industry, from how we think about the future for charging, it's a whole new way to think about energy and infrastructure. And what it does is it adds a level of vehicle to grid capabilities. This means that our vehicle can now serve as a mobile generator. It can serve as a standalone battery to power a hospital or to power something during outages. But also, if you think about a hotel or a new subdivision that builds it with the ability to have chargers on spot, they wouldn't need to spend all the money in the external DC charging stations. They'd still need a small station for energy management. Really, our limitation on this is the power. So just like your house is maybe a 200 amp power, so you can only go up so high, that's our limitation. So we're rolling out our campaigns against this. We've been talking to our customers and getting great demand already for this additional feature to our already optimizing coil driver. As you look about how does the coil driver really play? How does all this matter? All these features, what is the position for the customers? So we're going to use an electric truck for an example. So if I think of a commercial electric truck, the black line on the screen demonstrates to you the highest available performance from the industry leader today. And you can see that whether we look at torque or power, speed, performance, no matter what we look at, we're unmatched. We have over 50%, it's actually 60 and 150, like you can see, against the leader in the market today. So as we get our product out to market and we are able to move from our prototypes and pilots into series production, we really feel like we're going to be able to take that market share because we're offering the customers what they need. This means that a truck that previously could only go a certain amount of kilometers can now possibly get a little bit more range. It can also be able to climb a hill at full load. This could mean the difference between a garbage truck making 3 pickups or 4 pickups. And if we look at the flexibility, not only is the product scalable and flexible, the flexibility means we can tune the product so that we can focus on, do they need torque or do they need speed? So I think of the opposite end and we think about a race car or a high performance car. What they care about is how fast you can get that 0 to 100. What can you get for top speed? As I look at speed, you can see that we get over 28% on all of our performance criteria. Both of these examples are actual simulations that we've worked in-house for actual customers in our pipeline. And both of them have been done using our simulation program, ANSYS, as you can see noted in the bottom. That's important because ANSYS isn't just some formulas where we're thinking about what we do. This is like a sandbox. This is where we keep our costs down by simulating many different scenarios for a customer to get the most optimized solution before we go to build. So instead of having to build 4 or 5 pilots or prototypes, we can essentially just go straight to pilot and prototype. On our projects with Potentia and Heinzman and Land, we were able to achieve over 95% of the same results in actual test bench as we did in our ANSYS simulation. And the last 5% isn't this is going to work or this isn't going to work. It's how do we keep fine tuning? Because again, the drive does a lot more than just torque and speed. It is the brain. It controls everything in that powertrain. So as we think about how important this will be as electric vehicles become the predominant choice of vehicles for everybody over the next 10 years, we also think about the net zero targets that are being set worldwide, including here in the US with a target of 2050, which the Biden administration calls an aggressive target. We must also think about what's going to happen from that. We're going to have a number of batteries that come out of these vehicles that, of course, we're going to recycle eventually, but what can we do to help that supply chain? What can we do to help that cycle of life? And so our engineers took all of the thinking that we had with our coil driver and how we controlled it through the electronics and applied it to the battery. And what we realized was that we could do similar with the battery using a physics of batteries called multiplexing to look at balancing to the cell level. So instead of balancing to a motor coil, we balance to a battery cell. And what this really means is that inside the battery will degrade. So the truck's been on the road for a very long time, been driving for 5 years, dropping off UPS packages across the country. The battery is degraded. UPS takes that battery out, and now they can either recycle it or they could repurpose it and utilize it to make an energy storage unit. That's important. A lot of people will say, why wouldn't you just recycle? First of all, I think it's important that we repurpose before we recycle, as even the technology for recycling lithium ion phosphate needs to improve as we get into more batteries coming to market. But also, all of the statistics show that currently there would not be enough lithium ion to be produced to supply both the first life vehicles and the need for the energy stationary storage that would be required. On top of that, when we think about energy storage, what we want to think about is that purpose on the grid, where as we're plugging all these vehicles into the grid and the grid needs to upgrade to handle all of this electric new wave of vehicles, we want to think, how do we help take some of the pressure? How do we balance that pressure to the grid? So we looked at combining our software and our hardware so that we could really make the transition to electrification accelerated by that ability to use these repurposed batteries. For those of you that don't know what an energy stationary storage unit is, this is a rendering of what our full unit would look like. So the one on the left is one module, and you build up those modules like you would a Lego brick house. And so we can build up from there. Our target market is industrial commercial buildings. And the reason for that is it's an area where they utilize 6 times more power than residential, where we have the need for commercial trucks that are going to go into a station at the end of the night and be charged. Now those truck stations can consider utilizing our coil driver as a first life, being able to charge faster, being able not to have to put so much expense into DC chargers, but they can also now know that their batteries can come out and go into storage that can then be either serve as an additional grid, or it can just serve as an ability to repurpose their batteries. So there's a lot of solutions there for our customers now. And it sounds like a very complicated system, but it's actually quite simple. When you think to it, just 10 buses can do an office building. And even the new Ford Lightning says that it can run a house for 3 days. It's a similar model as that new Ford Lightning, where we're using the trucks to be able to offer vehicle to grid, just with a lot less electronics to do it. And that's important because really the end goal of great tech is our commercial partnership. At Exro, we've now clarified that we have defined 4 different partner models. Our first partner is a development partner, somebody like Templar Marine, where we're looking at an industry that we're not quite sure how the coil driver will behave. What is the value proposition? How are we going to be able to partner with motors? How are we going to be able to become ingrained in that supply chain? And we look at the application. Through these, we become smarter for our next application. Our intention is always that we're going to go to commercial partnership, but sometimes that's just not the reality. So rather than keep going years down the road, we take a look at the beginning and we really try to think about, is this going to be a cost-effective solution in 2 or 3 years? The next one is our commercial partner. These are much like our partners, Zero, Sea, and Land, where we're looking to validate our product in a specific application from motorcycles to commercial trucks, where we want to be ingrained with the customer to learn about what is important. Through Sea Electric, we learned that there's issues with gradability in commercial trucking and that the truck loses a lot of battery as it climbs up the hill with a full weight on the truck. So we're able to now make sure that our drive is going to be the best drive for that industry. And in turn, our partners take the drive, put it in their vehicle, and do rigorous on-road reliability testing that we need to get the drive fully certified for on-road use. And then we have our strategic partners. Our new partner, Linamar, which we'll talk about, is a fantastic example of a tier 1 supplier that really substantiates the foundation for Exro, our new manufacturing facility, and our position with automotive manufacturers in the year to come. And then we have motor partners. Motor partners don't necessarily add up to revenue. Motor partners make sure that we have a partner to the drive that allows us to accelerate the partnership and go faster to market. TSA is a perfect example of that, where they have customized a 400 and 800 volt motor to serve all of the commercial trucking applications that we have today. As we think to those projects, we'll talk about 3 key projects. We have the Zero motorcycle project, where we're trying to get a higher level of performance. It's a motorcycle that already had a fantastic powertrain. They go fast, they pull torque. They're one of the leaders in the industry. They sell thousands of bikes a year. And it's a very compact little drive. Sits on the bottom end of the motorcycle, so it's very small with a lot of power. We've been working with Zero Motorcycle, where we are running about 8 weeks late right now due to some supply chain issues, but the project is going fantastic, and we're really looking forward to being able to share our results with Zero in the coming months. This really enables us, though, to get that light duty segment. So once we do this work with Zero, we've got a lineup of other customers in our pipeline that we can now start talking to with actual test results. We don't need to go through that whole process again. With Sea Electric, we're working on the other end of the spectrum. We're working with class 4 through class 8 trucks. So everything from a UPS delivery truck to a class 8 truck, which in this case is a Mack garbage truck. Sea Electric buys the empty chassis and installs their powertrain with our drive and our motor. We replace the incumbent, which in this case is a Dana TM4, and we're able to show them increased speed, increased torque, increased gradability. We reduce the weight of the powertrain by over 50 kilograms, in this case, and we were able to reduce cost. We also enabled them not to have to use a 2-speed gearbox. So there's a lot of demonstrating tech for us in this project. Currently, that project's running on schedule to deliver by the end of the quarter, and we're currently in test for that one as well. So we're really excited about those 2 ends of the spectrum. And then with our strategic partner, Linamar, we've positioned ourselves with a tier 1. This was a milestone that we had set for Q4 of this year, and we were able to pull it in and bring it into the second quarter. And that's a really big success for the team, because what it does is it allows us to accelerate our e-axle program, meaning that now we work with Linamar. We supply all the power electronics. They supply all the packaging for an all-in-one. It's called a 3-in-1 or an e-axle for electric vehicles of all sizes. We, of course, are at a pilot stage with them, so it's going to take us a little bit of time to get through that, which we've been saying over the past months. It's about an 18 to 24-month development. But upon successful validation, we would be co-marketing the product with Linamar. Linamar already is a tier 1 supplier. They already have relationships and are an approved supplier for companies like Ford. And so this will greatly enable us to have a much quicker acceleration into the automotive world. Also, part of our new facility in Calgary is our manufacturing facility. Our manufacturing facility will be a world-class inverter automotive manufacturing facility. Part of the facility's growth will be being able to approve it as an automotive certified facility. And with that, we need partners that come out and audit our facility. So Linamar and C Electric play a key piece in that automotive strategy for ourselves. Currently, all of our financial pipeline includes these customers, Linamar, C. We've been executing and we've been able to line up to our financial forecasts. And this is where we start seeing revenue. We'll get a little bit of revenue this year, but we'll start seeing really good revenue towards the second half of next year and into 2023. As we think about how we communicate this, how it matters, whether you're thinking about how it matters to the user in general, the ability to now have a garbage truck that can pull a full load, do it at speed, cover more ground, go farther on a single charge. The bottom line is when your target market is mobility and when your target market is automotive, the first thing you need to think about is your cost, because eventually that's what makes you ingrained in that supply chain. So we've put a lot of work into our supply and making sure that we have a cost-effective product that allows us to quickly move from our product validations into full series production. This is driven from the inverter cost tends to be slightly higher. So our inverter as a standalone product is slightly higher because there's more electronics. You're putting a lot more into the box. But now we're using a motor that's 25 to over 50% smaller. We're eliminating that onboard charger. So when you compare the Exro powertrain to an existing powertrain, it's always a cost reduction. It can be anywhere from 8% to over 30% as we are flexible in how we design that to meet it. How we're bringing this all out, how we're making this happen is really all the people that we are recruiting. Our organizational design has been an intentional strategic development as we grew our business quickly over the past 18 months. I joined in September of 2019, having come off as the CEO of GE Small Industrial Motors. I led the GE business through an acquisition to a company out of China called Wolong Electric. Wolong is one of the top motor manufacturers in the world. John Meekison, our CFO, is on the call today for any financial questions that we have. And John has over 20 years of experience in the capital markets and in small cap companies in general, and has worked with companies such as Haywood Securities. Josh Sobel, I recruited in November of 2019 as our Chief Commercial Officer. Josh joins us with 10 years experience. He's a motor design engineer, and he has a mechanical engineering degree and an MBA. He joins us where he was the segment leader for Siemens before he joined us in November. Eric Kutz is our chief engineer. Eric joins us with 20 years of experience in automotive inverter design and manufacturing, working with companies like International Rectifiers. Eric has been an instrumental piece of our design from the coil driver, as the coil driver really represents taking all the patents that we've had and putting it into a form that customers can now transition. It's almost like a drop-in replacement for them, just with more features. And Richard Moe, our Chief Marketing Officer, is a proven operations and marketing manager. He worked with me while I was with GE and also at Wolong, and he was promoted up to the director for Wolong after I left the company to join Exro. We recruited Richard in last year. On our board of directors, we have Julie Wormlinger, who was the former chief engineer of Ford Motors. She retired in 2018, and Julie has been instrumental in helping us to position ourselves and to put our strategy together for the automotive segment. Terrence Johnson was former VP of Audi, where he spent over 35 years in automotive sales, and he's been instrumental in helping us to make sure that our value proposition is what the customers are looking for. And then we have a great board in general with Eamon, who was VP of Operations, as we put together our new facility. Beyond our board, though, and beyond our management team, we have a team of expertise that's helping us to bring this tech to the market. So we have a new VP of production that has just relocated to Calgary from the UK. He also joins us from International Rectifiers, the same company as our chief engineer. We have Darren Maui from our VP of supply chain, has been helping us navigate, especially over the last year, as it seems like no matter how far ahead you think you are, there's always a little bit of a snag when it comes to supply chains these days. So we have, parts and pieces for everything in stock, and we're able to think confidently towards our future. Darren joins us about a year ago from ITT Pump, which is one of the top rotating pump manufacturers in the world. We have Anthony Anello, who leads our battery control system, who's been a clean tech and energy storage specialist for over 20 years. And we have Rob Posma, who sits in Detroit. Rob is our new VP of Strategic Accounts. Rob joins us from Dana TM4, where he spent over 25 years as a sales key account specialist, and is based in Detroit to be close to customers, and is bringing a world of knowledge to us. And there's a whole bunch more employees that have helped us to execute along our milestones. As you think about what that means for the company, we're really driving an end-to-end solution, and we're looking to continue to build that out with different pieces of technology that enables the best powertrain in the market. And when we think about the coil driver and how we're making money, you can think about it in three key buckets. The first one is engineering services. That's a lot of what you'll see this year. Companies that have paid us to do engineering design, including our partnership with Linamar, or other partners that have given us POs to work towards designs that are specific to their powertrain. Then we have low volume manufacturing. That's where we'll enter into the fourth quarter of this year and into the beginning of next year, where we're supplying our first pilots and prototypes, where the customers put it in their vehicles. We might do another 2 or 3, or in some cases it's up to 25 units, where they continue to test it in different demographics. So we would test it out in Arizona in a dry sand. We would test it out in a different area where it's snowing, in hills and valleys and different areas before it's fully certified. And then all of that can be done through our current facility, which is under construction. The Calgary facility has the ability to manufacture 100,000 drives per shift, can handle all of the drives that we currently have available, and can scale up or down as needed by customer demand. As we go into higher volume, our licensing and higher volume model still stands the same as it did today, as it did 3 years ago. As we ingrain ourselves into the automotive world, we expect partnerships that drive hundreds of thousands of units in 4 to 5 years. Those ones would be done through a licensing agreement with a partner, or through some type of strategic partner investment where we increase our manufacturing footprint. Currently, our facilities are in Calgary, Alberta, is our Canadian headquarters, where the majority of our staff sits. We have our new 37,000 square foot manufacturing facility, also located in Calgary. This week, we announced our new US headquarters. Our new US headquarters is here in Phoenix, Arizona. We're actually in Mesa, Arizona, just outside the Phoenix border, where we'll have about a 15,000 square foot test and demonstration center. So we'll be complementing our Canadian operations with a dyno bay and the ability to test all the same drives that we test in Calgary, but be closer to customers that want to come out during the test phases and see the drive actually performing and see how the torque and speed increase is occurring. In addition to that, we'll be looking to increase for Buy America guidelines and different partnerships globally sometime next year to the following year. As we look to the Arizona facility, we will have a full team here, including engineering. The roles are posted, and it was shared in our recent press release. From a capital perspective, we currently have about 132 million shares fully diluted. We have just under $33 million in our bank account. So we've been running exactly to our forecasted burn per month, and we've been able to invest in our CapEx for our facilities. We've increased our employees from just under 20 when we did our raise in December to just over 50 today. And so we're continuing to execute, invest in our marketing and our branding, in our websites. And we have enough right now to run us probably for about another 18 months, somewhere between 18 to 20 months. So as you think about Exro and you continue to follow us, I'd like to think about us as just perpetual innovators, but with disciplined innovation. And that's one of our new core values, as we really thought about the fact that we have so much that we can continue to bring to market with the coil driver, so many other segments that we haven't even begun to touch on yet. But what we really want to do first is be disciplined about how we go to market, meet our commitments to our shareholders, deliver on our projects. While we have some delays, the projects are all still going very, very well. We continue to work very well with our customers, and we're very excited about having those results. And so as you look to that coil driver and that battery control system, we're really becoming experts, and we're becoming recognized as experts for power electronics in all stages of the mobility ecosystem. With that, Jim, I think I'm coming close to the end of our talk, and we'll go ahead and open up for Q&A.
Great, thank you, Sue. Wow, that was terrific. There's a lot to
absorb.
lot to unpack, as they say in Silicon Valley. But I guess the three things that I highlighted were second life battery, opportunity for V2G, and I know your CFO, John Nicholson, is on this call as well. So third question is always how we pay for all that. But first question, second life battery, just to be sure about the technology, you're using worn out cells, it's not the right term, but worn out cells from car and truck batteries and repurposing them into a stationary lithium ion stack. Am I describing that even close to what it is?
Close, close. So yeah, so we take the battery pack out of a truck, let's say, out of a UPS truck for an example, and then we put it directly into our energy storage unit, and the controllers then dictate if the motor can, if the battery pack is suitable for reuse, and it actually through the electronics can make a degraded cell get healthy from a healthier cell. So it actually balances the life level of the different cells. And the using of second life batteries is not new. There's companies trying to do that all over and doing it successfully in Europe. What's new about it is how we do the power electronics. So inside the power electronics, inside the stationary storage, there's usually two key components: a battery management system and an inverter. We've combined those two electronics into one, and we've now enabled the cell balancing, which nobody's been able to do yet. And so we eliminate a large number of testing that you normally would have to do. Again, allowing for a much more cost-effective solution to market while giving them a lot more performance.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that the opportunities in stationary storage for lithium ion, also vanadium, VRFB, and they're just enormous. They're much larger than vehicular.
Agreed.
So that's a huge selling point for Exro. And I guess another thing that came out of the Volkswagen Power Day in March was a real focus that they have on V2G. You know, your ID3 can run your lights and all those. Your ID4 can run the entire house. So I guess my question is, how do you monetize your technological advantage there? I mean, is the coil driver necessary to that system, or is it really the engineering where you're adding value?
I absolutely think the coil driver is necessary, because I think the reality of the industry as it matures is that manufacturers, first of all, need the performance. They need that electric vehicle to become cost parity to the gas and combustion, because if we look at the commercial trucks, again, that's not a lifestyle choice. These are companies that need to change over fleets to meet government regulations. And so doing that cost effectively is definitely a key point. But if I put aside the cost advantage and say just on a performance advantage, they need that vehicle to be able to pick up a number of packages. They need that vehicle to be able to get so many kilometers. They need to make that charging station more effective. And they're not getting that out of the current market. They're not getting that today. So I think that it absolutely will play a big piece. It's like any new tech coming to market. You know, it's going to be a little bit bumpy as we get out there, because we're saying that we're doing something that nobody else is doing. So it's kind of that old saying, proof is in the pudding. So as we get more out there, our land motorcycle is, you know, driving with the drive in it now, showing that we can do that at that size. The C Electric will be a great demonstrator, Zero and the others as they come out. So I think the more ingrained we get, the easier the process becomes, and the worst is behind us now. We're really just kind of trucking along and ticking those boxes now.
Yeah, it's amazing. So busy. I actually have gotten two questions via the chat, so I will ask them, or I will read it for you. First question is there any potential migration of battery technology to standby generators that people have outside their homes? Some run on nat gas or liquid petrochemicals. I mean, the Generac business has just gone bananas. So is that a target market?
Possibly, yeah. We haven't fully put out all the potential applications for it as a charging, but that's a great way to look at it. You could essentially turn a school bus into a mobile charging station.
Yes.
So The school bus could, a fleet of school buses that previously sat dormant throughout the summer could be used as backup battery for an event, or backup battery for a hospital or during a storm. So absolutely, that's part of what we're looking at. There's a lot of great people that have done a lot of great work in that space, and there's a lot of great technology in that space. So we're just trying to see where our fit will be there.
Okay, thank you. And then another question from the chat. I will read it. Does the coil drivers not being designed in for 2022 vehicles? But how much is it a plug and play system so that automotive OEMs can swap it when it is ready for prime time? The questioner.
Great question. So currently today, the coil driver is not a plug and play. That is absolutely correct. There's a lot of design work that goes into each and every model. Part of the motor partnerships that we've been able to sign up, and we have them for both the small, the two-wheel, and the bigger vehicles, is that now it will essentially become more of a plug and play. So by mid 2022, we'll have a product that essentially a manufacturer could just order that model number and have that plug into their system. That said, currently, as we go out to market, we don't redesign every time we go. We redesign when we have a partner like Linamar, where we're designing a new type of product. As far as ingraining into the system, we have to remember that mobility is not just automotive. So when we think about an automotive vehicle, yes, absolutely. If we're working with a zero now, it means we're in their model for 2024. But if we're working with a non-automotive, an off-highway vehicle, a motorcycle, construction vehicles all over the world, it's not the same. So now we can essentially go, currently the map's about 9 to 12 months, but we anticipate that will get down to under 6 months as we move into next year. So we really want to remember that mobility is everything on land with wheels.
Absolutely. And then one more from or two more actually I have in the chat. This one is the charging station discussion. Not clear how Exro reduces the need for tons of charges. How do you fix that problem?
Yeah, and that one, I think what we're going to do as a company is we'll probably have some teach-ins coming up in September where we have our engineers talk to it, because it is a very detailed description. So very kind of trying to keep it very simple. With the charging, how a vehicle charges is there's a piece of power electronics inside the engine that's an onboard charger or a rectifier, depending if you're going AC or DC charging, but it's electronics essentially that are converting your power to charge. We eliminate the need for that onboard charger as it's done natively through the coil driver. The coil driver is an inverter that has a different topology from design, from patent. So we're able to do that. On the exterior, so you're driving out, you stop at a Tesla charging station, you plug your vehicle in to a charging station. That whole exterior charging box could now be much reduced. You still need what's called an energy management system. You still need something that you plug into to get your access to the grid, but you don't need so much now because it's all being done through the vehicle itself. So there's regulations that we need. You don't need the whole DC fast charging receptacle. You can use a standard receptacle. Where your limitations are is two key points. The car itself. So a Nissan Leaf, for example, can never fast charge because you need that power to be able to fast charge. So it's limited by the battery capacity. Where a bus is much bigger than what we fast charge. So this could potentially allow a bus to charge even faster because now we can access more of that power. On the external side, when we think about a DC charger, then that means now they can use just a standard plug-in. So we can think differently about how we do that. So how Exro will do that is we'll be out talking to government, to infrastructure leaders, to make sure that they understand that there is other solutions than what's on the market today. And we'll work towards getting pilots to be able to prove that, but it's in parallel. It doesn't change anything. Again, we don't go into new design. We don't have to do anything. It's inherent in the coil driver itself.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I have this editorial comment. I'm getting a lot more questions in the chat here, but I do have a lot of people working on charging station technologies. So hopefully I can make those introductions because there really is room for a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
Tesla supercharger, okay. Everything else is kind of less than okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
So this question is about the testing with Potencia, and just a person is asking for an update status.
Right. So we will be doing a live update later in the month of August on all of our projects, as we realize that our shareholders are anxious to find out what's happening with our projects right now. Potencia is on track in that they are still testing on their test bench. They're working together, albeit virtually, with our team to be able to get through some of the control algorithms that they need to be able to get the vehicle fully functioning. And we're still planning to have that in the vehicle for probably about the middle of October. And just as a reminder to shareholders, new and to let everybody old know, initially we were planning to have that in the vehicle for last year. So it is indeed one that's a little bit later, but that wasn't all on Exro. That was some issues that Potencia also incurred during the testing period, where they blew up some of the parts and that we needed to get in some new parts. So there was some joint efforts along the way to get the second drive out to them. And so they have that drive. It's on test bench. I'm actually going to be speaking with them early next week to see if I can get some pictures to put up on our social media sites. But so far, everything's looking really good.
Okay, great. And still have some more questions on the chat. Yeah, if you have time, thank you.
Yes.
The next one, and I think that this actually feeds into the last one, is have you been able to retain the chips you need? Obviously, everybody's having that problem, I would think, these days, but what about Exro?
Right. Definitely, like anybody else, we've incurred delays due to the chip supply. We had thought about it before it was really popular. We had put a lot of our FETs on order.
To a presentation.
And we thought that we had a really good lineup for our supply chain, but unfortunately, some of our deliveries didn't come in according to their promised dates. We've been getting some trickle in of the deliveries, and we anticipate we'll be through that over the next 4 weeks. Nothing like what we've seen from other automotive suppliers. Part of the advantage of where we are right now is we do buy through distribution. We deal directly with onsemi as our main supplier, and they've been a phenomenal partner, but they too have had some delays. They are headquartered here in Phoenix as well. So we think that we're just about out of that. That is the reason why we've had some delays with some of our drives. But again, it's maybe a 2-month delay, nothing that anybody should feel concern over. And it's not stopping us, just to be clear. It is not stopping us from our testing. It is not stopping us from our development. We have drives running on benches in all the sizes today, and we have all the parts to be able to work them, have backup drives, and do everything we need. It's just supply to customer.
Okay. And then this follows on, it's also from the chat, follows on that one, I think. Have you seen other technology companies looking to improve battery performance in a different way than the coil drive?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the nice thing about all of our tech is we're solving a problem that is really happening. It's not a problem that we're thinking that is going to happen. It's a problem that's really happening. So I look to other tech trying to do the same thing as a validation to what we're doing. So far, the majority of the good tech has been in motors that have come out with great new ways to drive more torque through the motor in a smaller, more compact, weight-saving manner. The nice thing is we can work with those motor manufacturers because they still need a drive. We haven't seen any new tech coming out from the drive perspective, and anybody that's starting to look at how they have a more power dense drive or how they do something will have years and years and years before they get it to market. Now we're just so much farther ahead at this point. So that's what we see on the battery control system. It's much the same. There's a handful of companies globally that's trying to repurpose batteries in different ways. All of them have different things that are good about it. We haven't seen anybody that's been able to combine the reduction of testing, the combination of safety, and the ability to balance the cells like we have on the battery storage. I'd say there's more competition on that side, but it's a much bigger market.
Absolutely. And one last one from the chat. This one is, will I still need 240 volts in my home to fast charge?
So that one is going to need a whole engineering teach-in on charging. But so that you cannot DC fast charge from your home with our coil driver just because you want a DC fast charge. You need to have more than the 240 amps to be able to do DC fast charging, regardless of if you're using an Exro coil driver or other. What it could possibly do, and this part is theoretical, it could possibly let you charge a little bit faster, but that will be in actual results. But now, if you imagine it in your home, you could just plug in versus needing a whole station. That's where it would affect a residential home. If you could just plug into the outlet in your garage, then
Absolutely.
you could charge up to your 200 amp service, but you wouldn't need a whole charging station. If we look about a bus or a truck, though, it changes it completely because they can do more than fast charge. We're talking much more than the 300 kilowatt ratings that you get out of a fast charge.
Okay, yeah, I think that commercially that's a huge advantage. And passenger vehicle side, obviously, everyone I know who's bought a Tesla has paid the $1,000, give or take, to get the wall box installed. So,
absolutely. And there's a flexibility that we have to think about from a manufacturing perspective. If we look to the GM, Ford, Porsche, Nissan, whoever, they struggle with that charging station. Teslas are only good for Teslas, and they've just started opening them up in Europe. Well, we'd be eliminating that. We'd be saying you could have one universal connector, like think about it like your dryer connection or the standard AC connection that could apply to anybody now. And so the flexibility that it offers from a manufacturing perspective could greatly change the way we look at charging stations in general.
exciting stuff. So yeah, Sue, thank you very much. I apologize for all the technical difficulties, but I'm sorry, one more just came in the chat.
Okay.
Are there further partnerships that could be announced this year?
We continue to make a really, really good pipeline. We continue, we used to say we can smell the bread in the oven. So we continue to have a nice smell in the air. There's no promises or guarantees, but we've got a lot of customers that are waiting for demos, that are waiting for pilots. And we too are trying to be at a different stage for our shareholders so that when we are announcing, you don't have such a long wait. So we hope that we will have additional partnerships. We anticipate that definitely for the year. Time will tell where we are right now. I can tell you our engineers are working hard, long, dedicated hours every single day of the week.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sue, and thank you for presenting. And have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you to everybody for listening. Take care.